Welcome back to the channel, guys. Chris Ackland here from Iron Tribe Weightlifting. As you can see, it's a bit of a change in scenery. Being in Melbourne, Australia, we've just currently gone into stage 4 restrictions, which means I'm not allowed to go to the gym anymore. So I've brought the gym home, and so a lot of my content is going to be getting done from here. So we're going to create a common question series, and these are just common questions that I get in the gym or Instagram or Facebook, and hopefully I'm going to create a nice playlist of these that are probably the most common questions we get when coaching people. Today's question: when should you wear a belt? So there's 5 parts to this video, and if you want to scooch forward to whichever one suits your question, you feel free to do that. Starting number 1, we're going to go with my answer. Number 2, we'll go through common myths. Number 3, we'll go through the performance increases you actually get from wearing a belt. Number 4, we'll go through who should wear a belt. And then number 5, we'll just go through a couple of final takeaways. So when should I wear a belt? My answer is eventually and maybe. I think there are a lot of better things to kind of focus your attention on, especially early on when you're training. Really good movement patterns, learning how to breathe, learning how to brace. Those 3 things there will set you up for a longevity. You'll be lifting weights well into your olden days if you do those things properly. The belt, I more look at kind of performance, and we're an Olympic lifting gym, so some of our athletes have performance-based goals, and others are just kind of doing it for general wealth and general health and well-being. So for those people who are doing it for general wealth and well-being, I personally use a belt because of the sport I compete in. It basically allows me to lift more weight in training, which allows me to lift more weight hopefully on the platform. For me, it helps with creating stronger pressure, intra-abdominal pressure, which creates a more rigid torso. A more rigid torso gives me a better platform to kind of explode from. When I'm maximally using my legs and my torso is locked in place, and I hit that extension, I'm going to get more force into that barbell. So, myth number 1, using a belt weakens your core. I highly recommend everyone go and check out Greg Nuckols' article, The Belt Bible. I remember reading it in 2015, and I probably used to prescribe to this thought process that it weakened the core, and a lot of the evidence in that kind of points to the direction of it doesn't weaken it. Some of the EMGs showed that it potentially does a little bit more, but that was done in untrained individuals, so you've got to take a bit of caveat with that. Using a belt to protect your back. This is probably my biggest pet peeve with lifting. I don't think you should be putting a belt on. If you're looking at a weight being like, this could hurt my back, especially if you're doing it as a general health and well-being, you probably shouldn't be lifting that weight. You should probably be taking weight off and potentially doing more reps, or going back to basics, learning how to breathe and brace. We use a belt, not for protection, but for performance. So for me, I personally get around 10 to 15% more when I'm wearing a belt than when I'm not wearing a belt. Alright, so performance increases. Again, these are going to be taken from Greg Nuckols' article, The Belt Bible. I'll link it below. Please go and check it out. I mentioned before, with my anecdotal experience, that I get roughly about 10% more with a belt than without a belt. And again, I use a leather WEARA. It's tiny, but again, I get about 10% more with that belt than without the belt. He mentions in the article that it's around 5 to 15% more. So that kind of goes with it. Now, I think that's definitely because of the skill acquisition side of it. More experienced lifters will potentially get more. We've got powerlifting mates of mine who swear they get up to 15 to 20% more. They chuck belts on and wraps on, and their squat can, they can add 30, 40 kilos to their squat. The other thing that I liked was he talks about bar speed and the increase in bar speed, and kind of along with that comes that you can generally do more reps with a belt than without a belt. They say 1 to 3 reps more. So the better you kind of get at training the skill of using a belt, if you can get more reps out at a faster bar speed, that's going to carry over to 1 RMs, 3 RMs a lot later in the training block. Alright, so who should wear a belt? We're always going to start with who shouldn't wear a belt, and those who are looking for protection. I kind of mentioned it earlier. I don't think you need to be, don't get me wrong, it does protect you. If you've got more intra-abdominal pressure, if you've got really good mechanics, good breathing, you're kind of setting yourself up for injury risk management, so to speak. There's always in strength sports going to be that potential for injury, but that's in every sport ever. So I don't like the I'm using this to protect my back. I actually think that that mindset is kind of setting you up for not failure, but setting you up for some negative consequences in your training. My takeaway with if you are looking for protection and you're looking to put it on, look, if you're a crazy strong lifter and you think it protects your back and you get your performance benefits of it, awesome, go for it. If you're a beginner and you're kind of new to this and you're putting it on for protection, you've got a very long life ahead of you with lifting weights, hopefully. And I personally didn't use one for the first 7 years of my training. I actually thought it made me worse, and technically it did, because I didn't have the skill side of it down pat. So who should wear it? Those are the great foundational movements. So then I had a squat to their full range of motion, then I had a deadlift to their full range of motion, and then I had to do both of those things with really good breathing and bracing mechanics at the same time. I will be linking up in our common series how to breathe and how to brace, so look out for that video coming in the future. The question I would ask is, do you need one? For me personally, I started wearing a belt, I think I was weighing about 70 kilos, and on average my sets were 130 to 140. I was the person who was doing it for protection, to kind of protect myself, and my squat form was pretty average. But I didn't actually start using a belt on my cleans and on other lifts roughly until I cleaned around 130, and when I was cleaning 130, my squats were looking much better, my breathing, my bracing was much better, and I'm kind of happy that that's how it all worked out, because especially when I was early on in my lifting, I probably would have used this as a band-aid and put it on and just grinded some horrible lifts out, and I'm really glad I didn't do that. So a couple of final takeaways, guys. As a skill, the better you get at it, it can be hugely beneficial. 5 to 15% is what Greg Nuckols mentioned in his article. I suggest having periods where you don't wear one. So if it's just post-competition, if you don't even compete, but you like to have periods where you're, say, peaking for 1 RMs, 3 RMs, after those big peaks, I would suggest not necessarily wearing one. I think it's just good practice to kind of get into. And if you overuse something, you might not get the benefit out of it that you probably would, or that you probably could, I should say. Don't wear it for protection. Please don't wear it for protection, as in like with that being the only end in goal in mind. If you enjoyed this video, guys, I'm hoping to do a bunch more of these. In the next video, I'm going to go through how to use a belt. Now, obviously, I'm doing this backwards. Breathing and bracing are important. We have a breathing and bracing video on our channel already. I will link it, but I plan on doing one that's a little bit more in depth and hopefully looking as fly as this video here. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video, and peace.